One. And good evening, and welcome to America's Mayor Live, episode 462. And as you can see, you're stuck with Ted Goodman and the great Mike Ragusa tonight. The mayor is continuing with his travels overseas, so we'll be checking in with him throughout the week, just as we did last night. Michael, hometown kid, you're from here. You're from is it the city, the borough, Brooklyn?
That's right.
But specifically within Brooklyn, where are you from?
Bay Ridge.
Bay Ridge. And so what do folks need to know about Bay Ridge? You know, those of us not from New York, I'm from Michigan. What do we need to know about Bay Ridge, New York?
Well, Bay Ridge is like a suburb in this city, right? There's a lot of houses. There's mom and pop places, nice restaurants, very safe. Saturday Night Fever was filmed there.
Okay.
Lorraine Bracco from The Sopranos is from there.
Okay.
She played Dr. Melfi. If you remember Tony,
of course.
Tony Psychiatrist.
Yes. That's right.
Paul Sorvino from Goodfellas. He played Big Paul. He's from Bay Ridge.
Big Paulie.
Yeah.
He's from Bay Ridge.
Yeah.
So all these so a lot of actors.
Yeah, a lot of actors.
A lot of actors from Big Paul. So that was Goodfellas.
Goodfellas. Yep.
And of course The Sopranos.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So a good number of folks. So is there an Italian American population in Bay Ridge?
Yeah. So not so much anymore, unfortunately. But Bay Ridge is actually mostly Greek and Italian, and now there's a lot of Lebanese and Syrian.
Okay.
But not of the Muslim population, more of the Orthodox. But now there's a lot of Palestinians in Bay Ridge.
Right now? Oh, wow. Palestinians. Tell us more about that. What?
Yeah. So more, I would say in the early 2000s, late 2000s, Palestinians came and they kind of pushed out the Greeks and the Italians. Everyone moved to Staten Island and to New Jersey. And there's still little Italians here and there. Definitely still Greeks. The Greeks didn't leave. And the Lebanese and the Syrians stayed.
Okay. And so growing up, Mike, you were a little kid when Mayor Giuliani was, in fact, mayor.
That's right.
So tell us a little about that growing up with someone like Mayor Giuliani in office. I'm sure you saw him on the TV and in the newspapers growing up.
Well, when I grew up in the 90s, first of all, New York was a shithole. And this was pre-Mayor Giuliani, of course, pre. Dinkins was the mayor. Times Square was all prostitutes. It was homeless people. It was porno theaters. Mayor Giuliani wanted to run for mayor. I was born in '89, so that's when he wanted to run for mayor. Unfortunately, he didn't win. Then he came in in the '90s, and then he cleaned up New York City. He made it great. Everyone was feeling safe, and unfortunately now it's back to the pre-Giuliani days. It looks like, right, Ted?
Yeah, and of course, being with the mayor, you're around him a lot as well. You hear people say, we miss you, and you hear people say that I'm willing to wager are not necessarily Republicans. Mm-hmm. So my question for you is, can a Republican win an office like the New York City mayoral?
Well, I think we had this conversation last time I was on. Unfortunately, definitely not Curtis Sliwa. That guy's not the answer. He's not the answer. He's not winning mayor. No one takes him serious. Sorry.
Oh, Curtis Sliwa. What you got against Curtis?
What I got against Curtis is he turned his back on the mayor when things went down at WABC. He didn't stand up for the mayor, and I didn't really appreciate that. And I think we need someone who's a serious Republican or even a moderate Republican can probably win the mayoral campaign.
So you're not ruling it out. You just don't see us as of now. You haven't seen a name or somebody that you think could be competitive on the Republican side.
No, but what I'm scared of is Andrew Cuomo.
Andrew Cuomo. So Eric Adams will be up for re-election, right?
That's right.
And the election will be in 25.
Mm-hmm.
I think you and I both expect a good year for President Trump.
Absolutely.
Keeping our fingers crossed. And if that is to happen, does that not play play into the hands of the Democrats.
No.
You know, the whole wave election idea that you know, a party does very well, then the next year the opposition party usually performs better. Would that benefit Adams and his reelection if Trump is in fact able to win? I guess nationally, right? Trump wins back the White House in 24. Will that energize the Democrats enough to kind of protect Adams in his reelection bid? Because doesn't Adams in any normal world you would think he's quite vulnerable as a candidate.
Well, right now the problem is Adams. He has a federal problem. You know, the feds are looking at his new campaign, not to him right now. So if he gets in trouble, that might sink his reelection campaign, and that might make room for people like Cuomo. I know Brad Lander just announced his campaign today, the New York City comptroller, who is another joke, a leftist, total loony bin. He's not even doesn't even have a chance. He already tried to run for mayor once. He got him.
Wait, he's announcing that he's running. He's going to take on the sitting Democrat mayor.
Yeah, he just announced today. Yeah.
Interesting.
But he's an ultra leftist progressive, like De Blasio.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just as bad.
So we'll keep tabs on all things New York. So those of you not from the area, that you got a little bit of taste of some New York politics there.
That's right.
Before we get into some of the top stories of the day, and Mike, let's start with Venezuela. I don't know. Have you been following the election results there? Maduro declared victory in this election. The opposition is crying foul.
Right.
And funny enough, U.S. President Joe Biden just today has called on Venezuela to release detailed voting data from Sunday's presidential vote after election officials declared Maduro the actual victor of this hotly contested race.
Right. So
Biden agreed on the need for immediate release of full, transparent, and detailed voting data at the polling station level by the Venezuelan electoral authorities, according to a White House statement summary of a phone call between the two leaders. The outcome represents a critical moment for democracy in the hemispheres, the president says. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, let's be very clear what's happening here. Joe Biden is calling on Venezuela to, can we call it an audit? He's calling on Venezuela to check their own election results, decrying the importance, right, in the protection of democracy in the Western Hemisphere. Let's get that language right. We don't want to misquote Joe. Let's see. This is a quote from the AP. Biden agreed on the need for immediate release of full, transparent, and detailed voting data at the polling station level.
Right. Okay. Listen, first of all, no one's going to listen to Biden. Let's be honest.
But do you see the irony here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Going back to 2020?
Yeah.
And the fact that they, it wasn't, they literally criminalize and are punishing people for simply raising questions and raising the concerns and elevating the concerns of thousands of American citizens. Of course, our beloved Mayor Giuliani, one of the people leading that fight. And now here we have Biden. This is a quote from the AP, calling for the immediate release of full, transparent, and detailed voting data at the polling station level by the Venezuelan election authorities. Mr. Biden, why can't we have that same sort of check here at home? And why have people been punished for raising legitimate questions and concerns about the 2020 election, Michael?
Well, number one, we already know with Democrats, rules for thee, not for me. You already know that. Number two, why are we questioning another communist country election? I don't understand. Why are we getting involved with these things? Number three, no one's listening to Joe Biden. Let's be honest. I mean, Vladimir Putin didn't listen to Joe Biden. He invaded Ukraine, right? Right. So why would anyone in Venezuela listen to Joe Biden? I mean, come on, the guy's a joke. So this guy Maduro, he's gonna stay in office The army, I saw some videos. They're telling the citizens to rise up, do a coup. They got to assassinate this guy. That's the only way this guy is going to get in office. That's it, Ted. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Calling for the assassin.
That's what they're going to do. I'm telling you.
Who's they?
I'm saying the citizens have to go there and they have to get this guy out of office and assassinate him. That's the only way it's going to happen. They got to do like what they did in World War II. They got to go get Mussolini. They got to go get these guys, man. This is what I'm trying to tell you. I'm not calling for it. I'm saying the people of Venezuela need to go.
Sure. So,
and
of course,
get him.
so
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see a lot of the military forces, right?
Right.
And I think it's their version of kind of the National Guard. Have been siding with the people in a lot of cases, right? Joining or refusing to fire upon them.
Right.
So it will be interesting to see.
Police officers are removing their uniforms because they don't want to arrest Venezuelan citizens because they can't do it because they believe that this guy Maduro lost and he rigged the election.
So of course, it'll be interesting to see, right? Someone like Maduro to hold on to power, and anyone in that sort of position, right? They're relying on. They need a large group around them to support them, right? What you could call the country's elites. So he needs to maintain the support of those people, and then of course, in this case, the military. So if the military, if he loses the support of the military, then I think you're right.
He's finished.
We'll see, and he very well maybe he's finished. So
he's finished.
We're continuing to follow.
We have some videos we should play for them today.
We do have some videos. So this is an ongoing situation in Venezuela, and we do have some clips here. Let's see if we can play them. So we have so sorry about that, folks. So it's Mike and I today. We're gonna get these clips up. This is live, not live, but this is some footage of what's happening in Venezuela since the controversial election results Sunday. So there you have some footage about what's happening on the ground in Venezuela. Maduro, who's been in office now since for quite some time.
I just want to point something out.
We were in high school.
I want to point something out, right? The liberals are already saying, I'm watching on Twitter, the liberals, oh, this is what Trump's going to do if he wins. He's not going to leave office and there's going to be a civil war. I just want to let you know, liberals, if you're listening or watching this show, Trump already spoke out against this Maduro fella, said he's a bad person. He doesn't like him. So, and Trump left office, okay? He just questioned the election. He didn't stay in office. He left. He didn't cause a military coup. Citizens didn't go crazy, all right? Everyone relax. So, chill out.
Of course, Venezuela, it's a very interesting situation, right? This is a country that has the world's at least largest known crude oil reserve, right? Had a very strong economy all the way up until Maduro took office back 2012, 2013. And ever since then, you've seen inflation. I mean, yes, inflation's been bad here in America, but in Venezuela, we're talking about percentages in the hundreds.
Venezuela used to be a nice place to go vacation.
Exactly.
People went there to vacation. People went there to go have summer houses. I know a few people from Venezuela, and they don't even want to go back there. They're terrified.
By the way, over 7.5 million Venezuelans have left the country in the past decade.
Do you blame them?
Alone. Just seeing what's going on with the economy. And the way of life there, gang violence, of course, and one thing.
They're all here now.
And by the way, that's something that we have been on the receiving end of some of the consequences of Venezuela's, I guess, what you could call a failed government at this point. A country that's falling into civil war. we've seen these hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of Venezuelan illegal immigrants coming here to America. Again, not all of them are violent criminals.
No, no, no.
But among them are some of the most violent criminals on the face of the
Tren de Agua is the gang.
Tren de Agua. And by the way, I'm not sure how much we can talk about your day job here, but I mean, these are folks that I mean,
I can tell you about Tren de Agua.
yeah,
I can tell you about
deal
them.
with them.
Yeah.
So Mike is
So I'll tell you,
corrections officer in Rikers Island.
not corrections officer, investigations.
Mike is
Investigator.
Is an investigator.
Yeah.
At Rikers.
So
Rikers Island, and
I'll tell you
Rikers.
about Tren de Agua, what they do here in New York City. I don't think they've hit any middle of the country yet, but definitely in major cities. Is what they do is, I was actually on Dr. Maria's show talking about it a couple weeks ago. They ride up on their little scooters, their little electric scooters, and they'll just come right up to you, stick an illegal firearm in your face. They'll take your chain, rip it off. They'll take your purse. They'll take your cell phone, and they'll just ride off into the sunset, and you'll never see them again. That's their MO. Or what they'll do is, I've heard, actually, they admitted, we actually have one locked up in Rikers right now. He shot at two NYPD police officers. He almost killed them, but he hit one in the vest and one in the leg, I think. He's going for attempted murder for two police officers. He said that what they do is they smuggle their guns in Uber food delivery bags while they deliver food in the daytime. That's their day jobs for Uber Eats, and they smuggle the guns in the delivery bags. That's how they smuggle the weapons.
To where?
Anywhere. They smuggle them into the shelters, the men's shelters. That's their little network. They smuggle drugs, guns, all that stuff. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And they're here, and they were invited here by your great mayor, Eric Adams.
No, they were invited here by the border czar, Kamala Harris.
That's a good point, and way to stay on message, Michael.
That's right.
That's a way to stay on message.
That's right. That's right.
We're billing you for that.
That's right.
That's
Uncle Donnie, I'm sending you a bill. All right.
That's what you call being on message. And but Mike makes a very good point.
That's right.
It also happens to be true. Kamala Harris, put in charge of the border by President
Czar.
By Joe Biden.
That's right.
In March of 21.
And they're trying to make us forget it now.
And now they're rewriting.
The border czar.
He was never in charge. No, those words you said. What Biden's saying in that press conference, putting her in charge of the border, that's a cheap fake.
Yeah,
a cheap fake.
Deep fake AI video. That wasn't Joe Biden.
That is. Yeah.
No, never. She was never the border czar.
Yeah.
No.
But bringing it back to Venezuela, so we're seeing the consequences of a failed Venezuelan economy. So it's interesting. So as you watch all the unrest and what's going on with the election there, keep in mind that because of everything happening there, and because of the open border policies of Biden and Harris, you've seen some of the problems we've had here, and it's led to some devastating results, of course, for the families of Lake and Riley, and just so many young victims, and just victims in general. Just devastating.
Democrats refuse to say those people's names who were affected by illegal immigrants, violent immigrants coming to this country, and it's a shame. And this is why we need a Republican president, because things like this won't happen. We need President Trump back in office. We need him back in office.
That's right. And speaking of President Trump, we're going to take a short break, but then I'd like to come back and maybe we can talk about the Veep stakes on the Democrat side, maybe do another update there, as Kamala Harris seems to have whittled down her choices to a few big names. And then maybe we can talk a little bit about the vice presidential selection on our side and President Trump's choice in Senator J.D. Vance from the state of Ohio. I cannot say the great state of Ohio. Being from Michigan, it's just something I cannot say. So please stay tuned. Support our sponsors. By supporting our sponsors, you're supporting everything the mayor is doing here on America's Mayor Live. And we'll be right back in just 1 minute.
We're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Welcome back to America's Mayor Live. We're back. Here's Ted. We're going to talk about Kamala Harris's bizarre VP picks for. She has swing states, so she thinks that this is going to sway people. She's really smart, guys. Let me tell you, right, Ted?
So, of course, Kamala's said she's going to make her selection by August 7th. So that's coming up, Mike. That's just a week away.
Oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait.
And by all indications, she's narrowed down her choice to just a small handful of people. And I would say leading the charge. And let's get Mike's reaction. Mike, we'll go through the list and kind of give me your thoughts on these folks. And if you need some more information on any one of them, just let me know and we can give you some more background. But what do you know about Governor Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania? Now, what we've been doing, and I asked the audience last night to do it, and we should do this again because it actually benefits us going into the fall, right? Put yourself try to put yourself in their headspace. It's impossible for a lot of us, right? Of your typical Democrat voter today. But if you're the Democrat, if you're Kamala Harris, who are you choosing that you feel will best help you win this election? And you have to do this from their perspective, right? And their perspective is they're big proponents of labor unions, for example. They see labor unions as actually helping the working man and the working woman in this country. So you got to take it from their perspective, right? So pro-labor, teachers unions, they're different. They believe in different things than we do to a certain degree. And you'd like to hope there's a lot of crossover, right, as Americans.
Wasn't that big labor guy at the RNC this year, though?
So the president of the Teamsters,
the Teamsters
international
president,
he spoke at the RNC. He didn't necessarily
didn't really
endorse, but he spoke, and I bet he'd speak at the DNC if he were invited. But that was a very big moment, and again, just shows how President Trump truly has brought over so many working families, working men and working women over to the Republican Party at levels we haven't seen maybe ever, but definitely since Reagan, right? The Reagan Democrat. I'm thinking of like Macomb County, Michigan, right? And even I bet you places out in some of the counties on Long Island. Some of these places that vote Democrat, but there are some pockets of Trump supporters, right?
Right.
And President Trump was able to kind of flip the parties on their heads when it came to the working class vote,
right.
Where the Democrat Party was the party of unions. Our parents' generation were recently.
Well,
President Trump has been speaking. So
before we go to the VPs for her, the union thing, it's kind of funny, right? Because New York City cops are in unions, firefighters are in unions, sanitations are in unions, whatever. Teachers are in unions, right?
Yeah.
So only the union heads endorse Democrats, but the workers, cops, firemen, whatever, corrections officers, we're all Republicans.
That's right.
So even though we're in the union and we like the union, we still vote for President Trump and Republican. So it's a little.
Well, that's right.
Just here. I don't know about other places,
that's what you could argue. That's what led to President Trump's victory in 2016, right? The union vote, like you said, these union bosses were endorsing Hillary Clinton, right? They had been in bed with them. They're politically active in Washington, and so they're working with the same people Clinton's working with, and they support the old guard. Meanwhile, rank and file union members were coming out for Trump.
Right.
So what does that mean? Trump wins Michigan. Trump wins Pennsylvania,
Mhm,
Wisconsin, these places.
mhm.
So you just identified a big part of Trump's victory in 16. And now in 2024, you have some of these union heads speaking at the RNC,
Mhm.
and you're starting to see some of the leadership now reflecting the membership right
Right.
now that President Trump's been around. I mean, what he announced came down that golden escalator
Yeah.
in June of 2015. So he's been around now for, wow, over 9 years on the political scene. So you're
Right.
seeing now just how much he's transformed the Republican Party,
Mhm.
and uh, he's in a way taken over these unions and the membership that's gotten behind Trump over the years. Now the leadership is reflecting that membership
And I don't even
support
think he
for
was
President
ever
Trump.
anti-union ever. Trump. He was unions built his building. Like, he was never
Exactly,
Yeah, yeah, so,
exactly.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure he had issues with some of the corruption in some of these unions,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
but he never came out and said he was anti-union.
no, of
No,
course,
no,
a lot of
no.
these guys,
Yeah.
these construction work, these guys better than I do in New
Yeah.
York, and they,
Yeah, no.
they support Trump.
Trump is
Trump's their
very,
guy.
very. I think he's very pro-union. Maybe he doesn't agree with some of their,
Yeah.
stuff, but I don't think he would ever say he's anti-union because all the unions built every single piece of Trump property
Exactly.
in New York City, and I'm sure in other places.
And look, there was a time and a
Yeah.
place for unions 120 years ago, 100 years
Mhm.
ago.
Mhm.
They were fighting for 9 to 5 work hours and living a living wage
Do.
and working condition. Well, no, the argument is that they're no longer fighting.
Maybe in other
they're not-
places, but here
No, they're not necessarily sure. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not
yeah,
criticizing
yeah.
a lot of these the trades and the unions,
Mhm.
the carpenters and the construction workers, but a lot of unions, they've the my dad, for example, he's a classic union Democrat, Kennedy Democrat. His whole line is, Republicans never looked out for the working man.
Right.
My dad was a union lawyer. And my response has always been, even back when I was in high school, I understood this. These unions they're not fighting for a living wage anymore. They're not fighting,
No.
These teachers unions, for example, right? They're protecting the worst.
Oh, that's that.
They're the worst among. They're protecting the bad employees.
No, I'm talking
The
about.
last thing teachers unions care about are the students
Yeah, I'm
and
talking
their
about trade
education.
unions. I'm not talking
Yeah,
about
of course, yeah.
like critical race theory bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that stuff. Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
So some of these, these unions have
no.
gotten away from
Right.
well, again, and that's back 100 years ago, right?
Right.
We're all for that
Right.
for a living wage and that sort of thing.
Right.
But they've sort of lost their way is the argument. So Mike, going into some of these
Right.
names, Democrat Party,
You said what's his name? Shapiro.
Josh Shapiro, governor
Right.
of Pennsylvania. What do you know? Any thoughts on
Well,
that?
first of all,
Josh
I don't.
Shapiro.
Who was on CNN? Was it Anthony Cooper? Is like he's Jewish, and I don't know if the Democrats would like that. Who said that on CNN about him? I didn't like that comment. Number one. All right, you heard that comment, right? Who said that on CNN?
I don't know who said it, but that has been something. You're right that you hear.
Yeah, that's first of all, that's ridiculous. Okay, whoever said it on CNN, you're gross.
Yeah, but but isn't that interesting for the Democrat Party of today, 2024?
Well, they
have to
of slavery and racism, so I don't expect anything less to say that. But anyway, Shapiro, listen, man, you got to get a grip on Philadelphia. That place is crazy. Shootings, stabbings, police getting shot. So if you can't get a grip on one major city, you think you could be a vice president of a country? Pass. Thank you.
And of course, he won that state in this the gubernatorial election there by a wide margin. He picked up hundreds of thousands of votes. That Trump, there was likely hundreds of thousands of crossover voters, and Shapiro's kind of seen as someone who's not as radical.
I think he's a moderate.
I don't necessarily think that, but he's been able to paint himself as that, and he's taken an interesting approach with Trump voters and the MAGA movement, where he hasn't been as antagonistic as some others.
I see.
So look, he'll have to make a decision if he joins the Kamala Harris ticket. He's signing up to become very much a
if she was smart, she would pick a moderate Democrat for her vice president. If she was smart, and she's not, so she's probably not going to do that, right? She was smart. So
that's one line of thinking, and so she is, and that's why Josh Shapiro is being considered, because,
but she's not smart.
Think about this, right? The election is going to come down to what, 5 or 6 states,
right?
Arizona, Georgia, we'll put North Carolina on there,
Mhm.
and then the other three: Pennsylvania,
Mhm.
Michigan, Wisconsin.
Mhm.
Shapiro, a popular governor in Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
Does that lock in Pennsylvania for you? So if you're really looking at this strictly from a strategic electoral standpoint, you pick Shapiro. Does he lock in Pennsylvania? That's why someone.
Are the voters of Pennsylvania happy with him?
Right
now,
I,
in this
I don't
moment,
know.
in
I
this
guess that's an
moment,
interesting
that's what you have
question,
to
right? We'd
look
have to
at.
see
That's what you
the
have to look at.
see what sort of
Mhm.
opinion polls, what they say on
Maybe when
him.
they elected him, they were happy with him, but
Mhm.
right now, in this moment, are they happy with him?
So that would be interesting. He remains pretty popular, but I don't have
We don't have any
any
polls on
polling
right now.
right now.
But
So that's a good
tomorrow
point.
we'll
Yeah.
come back to it and see if right now, as of tomorrow, is Shapiro good in Pennsylvania among voters?
That's a fair question. And
Mhm.
so another name that we're hearing that's kind of at the top of the list is Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona, an astronaut, a fighter pilot,
Okay.
and
Good resume.
again from Arizona, one of the key states we talked about.
Right.
And of course, he's married to Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords, who unfortunately was the victim of a horrific shooting incident a number of years ago.
Yes. I remember.
And as we both know, the Democrats look, they fearmonger, and
Anti-gun.
it's going to come. Yeah, that's right. So between the abortion issue and the gun issue, as a man, he may not be what Democrats consider the best person to speak on abortion. Again, we got to think like a Democrat, right? They're the ones that play identity politics. But because of the unfortunate situation his family has faced,
Is this man
they would see him
anti-gun?
as somebody who is, uh, I'm willing to wager that he is, right? But we'd have to see what his voting record is. But they would see him as someone who could really be the face of their uh, uh, of what they plan to do in the suburbs, which I feel is to fearmonger
Oh,
on the gun
you think he
issue
would hit
and
like the
sub-
stay-at-home moms and
yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like
yeah,
that?
over the gun
I
issue,
see.
over the gun
And,
issue.
yeah, and abortion and whatever, maybe.
Well, then abortion, Kamala Harris are going to
Yeah.
have her.
Snip, boom, boom.
Yeah, yeah. That Democrats, that's their plan to win this thing, right? Is to fearmonger. They call Trump a threat to democracy. They lie about where he's at on abortion. I mean, the man is.
He literally
hard.
said he's not going to ban abortion like 55 times.
Exactly.
I could pull it up.
Yes. So the gun issue, right? They make this issue about guns into a larger issue than it is. Of course, the anti-police rhetoric, and they act like cops are out there every day
murdering people.
Yeah, just shooting people in the streets. It's insane.
Yeah.
But that's their MO. So do you have Josh Shapiro, Mark Kelly? I would say top of the list. Tim Walz is rising up on
I don't know much
people's
about this man.
list.
Tell me about him.
Minnesota governor.
All right, good hockey
liberal,
state. Hockey state.
Very big hockey state.
All
something
right,
we still
like
will talk about.
But I don't like this, but I like the hockey.
You can argue Minnesota's number one in hockey. I would say Michigan's right there.
I would agree. I agree with you.
We'll talk about that some more. We're both big hockey guys. Mike still plays. I don't. So it'd be interesting to get out there at 32 years old. I'm 33. I'm 33 now. Wow.
We should have a live stream of me and you playing some puck.
We got to get the mayor out there. Maybe he can be goalie.
There you go.
So
what about
Tim Walz?
What is this
big
guy?
liberal? He's championed legislation that he says is and it's portrayed as being helpful to Amazon workers. He's won some positive legislation for Uber and Lyft drivers. Just Amazon employees.
Like more right?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
So again, these
like
are
Amazon.
These are big. Well, these are big constituencies, right? The Amazon workforce is large. Uber and Lyft drivers
do the same. Try to do that for them too. Is that like a Democrat thing?
What's that?
Giving more rights to workers? Like
I would agree with you that at the core, as Republicans, we're the actual party of workers.
Right.
But Democrats for a long time, right, have painted themselves as kind of
working class
party of the, supporting unions, big labor. It goes back to, party politics.
I feel like she's going to pick Pennsylvania. She's going to pick Shapiro. I think she'll pick Shapiro.
Look, and
two guys aren't impressive. They're impressive.
Tim Walz, have you seen? So let's see if we played some of these clips yesterday. So we don't want to necessarily play them again. But I would like to get.
What about Mayor Pete?
Get Mike's opinion.
You think Mayor Pete's a wild card, Ted?
So there's another one. So Mayor Pete, I'm glad you brought him up because his name is also being bandied about, as they say. Mayor Pete Boot Edge. That's not Mayor Pete. That's Andy Bashir.
Yeah.
But Mayor Pete's being mentioned as a potential candidate. Now, I'm not sure how real that is. See, I thought that was him as well, but that's actually not.
Oh, Mayor Pete. First of all, he said the roads are racist. I can't take him serious. That's number one. Number two, didn't he like go disappear when that East Palestine train thing happened? Like that, he just disappeared.
Yeah.
And didn't show up. I mean, he also wanted maternity leave when his husband and him had a baby.
That's right.
I don't even know what to say to that.
That's right. And it's
I'm confused.
well, so Mayor Pete,
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons his name's being brought up so much right now, I think is because look, they see him as an effective attack dog.
They're only considering him because he's part of the LGBT community. Let's call a spade a spade. I mean, that's literally the only reason why he's being considered. That's my opinion. I don't know if you agree.
Sorry, I'm trying to get this. I want to get a clip of Mayor Pete up while we're talking here.
Right.
So
yeah,
live TV here. We're trying to pull all this up.
Do you agree that he's only being considered because of his LGBT member?
I agree that his rise to where he's at. Look, he used that as part of his campaign for president. Right? He went from mayor of South Bend, Indiana, to
which have a lot of traffic fatalities.
Presidential. Yeah, so he wrote. Look, so it's fair to say that because he used it himself, right? He went around. That was a big part of his brand.
Oh my God!
When he was launching his national political career, is that look, I'm a Midwestern white gay man, right? I mean, that's part of how he branded himself. So it's of course it's fair to
I want to make
highlight that fact.
One thing clear here. I don't care if you're gay, straight, trans, identify as a cactus. If you got the qualifications to do the job of vice president, then you can be the vice president. But Mayor Pete does not have the qualifications to be the job of vice president. And that's that.
So
I'm sorry.
This guy's Secretary of Transportation. This guy, I mean, it's, by the way, very clear he got that job by it was an agreement for him dropping out of the presidential race, which he wasn't going to win. But the Biden campaign, they kind of consolidated. If you remember back in 2020, first it looked like Sanders was going to win this thing, and had not everyone else coalesced around Biden, Sanders very well might have won.
They sabotaged him again.
That's exactly right.
Twice they sabotaged him. Hillary did it, and then Biden did it.
That's right.
Yeah, the poor guy.
The Democrat Party did to Sanders what the Republican Party tried and failed to do to Trump, right? And so that's an interesting tidbit. When people talk about Sanders and Trump, by the way, they're one and the same. A lot of similarities.
They're one and the same.
One difference is strength, right? Trump didn't allow the party to bash him down and beat him into submission. Bernie Sanders, he let the party.
I can't beat him into submission. Try to run again.
Well, by the way, the same party that built up Biden, they also took him out. Right. The same media that built up Biden, they also took him out.
Right. Well, while we're on that, we'll switch over to the vice president for Republicans now.
Sure.
On it. So while we're on it, I have a theory, Ted. I wanted to see what do you think of this theory. I actually made an Instagram video about it at Mike Ragu, if you guys want to go there. I think this is my theory. I think we got played by the Democrats, and they played us very well. They knew all along that Kamala, the side piece, was going to be the president, right? They knew all along. They waited to the RNC to see who Trump was going to pick, and of course, he picked, not my choice, J.D. Vance, a white man, and they said, "Oh, good. He picked a white man." So they put Kamala in, a woman, a minority, and they saw Trump didn't pick a minority, and now they're gonna use that against us in November.
Look, I think what's almost certainly true is that they wanted that June 27th debate.
Too early. Too early.
But they did want it with the idea that if Biden totally just fails at this thing, we have time to pull them before our
I think
convention,
they
right?
knew all along they were going to pull him, dude. I think they played us. I'm telling you.
So they not only played up, they
Yeah.
also played Biden,
Yes,
right?
yes. He had no idea. They were waiting to see who Trump
Biden
was
got
going to
played.
pick.
Yeah.
They were waiting to see who Trump
Or
was
were
going
they
to pick.
waiting to see? They wanted Biden to go up for that debate. Look, they thought maybe he'll do good enough to stay in this thing. Biden obviously collapses during the debate, and the media, everyone instantly turns on him, right? And
Do you remember we were here 2 or 3 months ago? We were talking about Trump's vice president picks, and we were laughing when we said JD Vance. He wasn't even in the galaxy. We were talking about me, you, and the mayor. We were talking about Tim Scott. We were talking about Rubio. Who else were we talking about? JD Vance was like,
he wasn't at the top of the list.
Yeah, he wasn't at top of the list. Doug Burgum.
We weren't even thinking
about
Doug Burgum was a late. He was a late.
We weren't even thinking about JD Vance. Where did this guy come from? Where did he come from?
So JD Vance, interesting, right? He's got an interesting story. I'd encourage everyone to check out Hillbilly Elegy. Have you seen that?
I'm good.
Have you seen the movie? Well,
I'm good.
Look, well, no. Look, if you're, I think we got to be fair to JD Vance. Let's not pile on like a lot of the left in the media, right?
I'm not piling on.
And I would encourage us, especially if you want to be critical of the man, to at least maybe read excerpts from Hillbilly Elegy or take a look at the Netflix special. It's 2 hours. I'm not saying you have 2 hours to just sit there and watch, but maybe there's some excerpts or something. Maybe you can read a little bit about it. He's got an interesting story. Do you know his story?
No, but what I'm trying to say is this is why I'm upset. Listen, he served our country. Love it. Thank you very much. JD, you served country. We love that. We love that. Thank you. Thank you. You're a hero. But out of the pool of vice presidential picks, he is the least qualified. So and he said Trump was Hitler about 50 times on live TV. I'm just confused, Ted.
I don't know if did he say it on live TV or was it in an email?
Or clips.
Okay.
Yeah, they have clips of him saying Trump is Hitler, Trump is this,
Okay.
Trump is that.
Now, the
emails.
qualified. Now, that's an interesting question, right? What when you say the least qualified?
Right.
First of all, I'm not sure if that's
He's a junior
fair
senator for 2 years.
But again, please, we know people that have been in. I mean, Biden was a senator for 36 years.
I understand.
And I know that guy wasn't qualified.
But Tim Scott was an effective senator. Marco Rubio was effective. This is what I'm trying to say. Like, you look at these guys' resumes.
Sure, but my point is, when it comes to being chosen as a vice presidential running mate, what does it mean to be qualified?
Like, what have you done in?
Sure, and what qualifies you to be a good running mate is my question, right?
Yeah.
Not like public service, sure, but this is somebody who also served in the military. Does that count for something?
Of course it does.
He does have a finance background. And by the way, finance goes over my head.
I don't know anything about finance. Yeah, I can't talk about that.
But he has a background, so in a way, could you argue that could be helpful with dealing with some economic issues?
Trump has a finance background.
He 100%. He comes from Middletown, Ohio. So, does that qualify him in some respects? Going from a place like Middletown, Ohio, a working class suburb, and going to Yale, right? And so, look, the man has definitely been exposed to different worlds, right?
I'm not saying he's dumb. I'm just saying I don't think he's dumb. I just think he's not ready. He's not qualified. Like, he doesn't. To me, he's not ready to be a vice president yet. He's not ready. I just think out of that pool, there was more people that are ready to go.
So what would your advice be to let's say I got JD Vance on the line, and he's come, but he doesn't want to come on the show. He wants to talk to Mike first, and he wants to talk with Mike Ragusa. He heard your comments on the show tonight, and he wants to know from Mike, what would you do differently if you were me? Look, you can't change the past. President Trump has chosen me.
There's nothing he can do. He just is who he is.
So what can he do? What would you recommend he do from now until election day?
I honestly think he should study some of the people that were in the pool with him, some of their policies. He should talk to them. He should talk to more experienced people, and he should, read up on some things, and maybe he'll be good. I just think 2 years as a junior senator, man, I don't know. I don't know, man. I just don't know. I don't know too much about it. And a lot of people say that they don't know too much about him. A lot of Republicans, like voters, I'm not talking about like people in office.
Yeah.
A lot of voters that I talk to on the street, and a lot of my friends who are Republican voters, conservatives, they're like, who is JD Vance? They literally don't know who he is.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what do your friends know about JD Vance?
No, they don't. They have no idea who he is. Listen, I'm in the law enforcement field. All my friends at work, they have no idea who they're like. Who is JD Vance? They never even heard of him until Trump picked him.
Really?
Yes,
They
this
didn't
is
know
what
about.
I'm trying to say. They don't know who he is.
They didn't know about Hillbilly Elegy.
I didn't even know about it until you just told me.
Yeah, so you gotta check this out. It's on Netflix. It's also he wrote a book.
I know he wrote a book.
He wrote a
that I
book.
know.
As the
That I know.
president said, it's a
Yeah.
great book.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a classic.
I just don't know about him. I knew who he was. Obviously, I knew who JD Vance was.
Yeah.
I just don't know about him. I don't know.
When you see him on TV, what feeling do you get when you see him? So let's say we're watching TV a lot in the background. That he comes on the TV. Are you tell him? Is he the type of person when you see him on TV, you tell him in the room, "Hey, stop, turn it down. JD's on," or would you say he's not necessarily that kind of person? Right? There are certain people where you see him on TV, you stop and watch.
No, if I saw, I'm not even gonna do that. If I was in a room with him and he walked in, I wouldn't be like, "Oh man, JD Vance is here." I wouldn't like. He doesn't give like Trump vibes. You know what I mean?
Well, President Trump walks in.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, if Uncle Donnie walks in, I mean, that's
yeah. But we
playing it
want
cool,
to do. We definitely want to get our time with him. So we're gonna play it cool.
Listen, I'm not dissing the man. I'm just saying I just don't know much about him. Maybe he's a great vice president. I don't know. I don't know much about him. A lot of people don't know much about him. I think he needs to go be out there, shake hands, kiss babies, and get more personable. Because
so you would tell him to get out there more.
Yes.
Shake hands, kiss baby.
Yes.
What else?
Also, be nice to the women because you made a couple comments and you're pissing the women off a little bit. A little bit.
Now, so how much of that is in his control, and how much of it is the media?
Yeah, too. They're spinning it, but maybe he should just Sorry. Sorry about that.
Welcome
This
back.
Restream crazy. I don't know what happened.
Us out.
Yeah.
They didn't appreciate Mike's
Listen,
comments about Senator.
you guys on
J.D.
YouTube,
Vance.
I was just talking to some of you guys on YouTube, and I know a lot of you agree. Some of you were saying, shut up and get behind Trump. Listen, I can have my opinion. This is America. If you're telling me to shut up and get behind Trump, that's communism, okay? I can speak my opinion. So you shut up, guys. Anyway, so like I was saying, I don't know much about J.D. Vance. A lot of people don't know much about J.D. Vance, and apparently a lot of you guys think so. So whatever. Listen, me and Ted, we put all our support behind JD Vance. Whatever President Trump wants, no problem. I really hope the man is the best vice presidential pick, and he needs to get out there, shake hands, kiss babies, and be more personable. That's my advice for JD Vance. Right, Ted?
There we go. So you heard it from Mike, his advice for JD Vance as he continues to deal with the lying media and their criticism over some comments he made during an interview with Tucker Carlson, an old boss of mine,
Right.
back in when did he make those comments? 2021. So
Right.
it'll be interesting to kind of follow that. So
yeah, we're done with that. Sorry, guys. All right.
No. So you wanted to, it's something you wanted to talk about. So I'm glad we did.
That's all I wanted to say.
That's fine. And so comment below. What are your thoughts, Senator J.D. Vance, and the president's selection as his running mate, and of course the Democrats? Again, they have a decision to make coming up here. Go ahead.
But Ted, let's switch over now to something more serious. Israel has been bombing the crap out of Hezbollah. I love it.
That's right. We are seeing we are hearing of these ongoing attacks. This, of course, Israel responding to an attack on, I believe, was it a school or a daycare center?
Yeah, apparently, or not apparently, Hezbollah killed 12 Israeli children, and they obviously took credit for it. And Israel responded like they're allowed to, because Israel has a right to defend themselves. And they killed the most senior Hezbollah leader. And we actually have some clip of that right here, and we're going to show you. So as you can see, if you mess with Israel and kill their citizens, they're going to come and blow up your whole building just for one guy. Good. That's what you get, Hezbollah. Sorry. Hamas, Hezbollah, whoever. The only good terrorist is a dead terrorist. Right, Ted?
So Israel claims responsibility for the strike in southern Beirut. 2 explosions were observed. This, according to footage captured during the IDF airstrike. At least 2 explosions took place against the Hezbollah leader in southern Beirut, according to surveillance footage reviewed by CNN and other outlets. The footage was published by a store located across the street from the building, and it shows the explosion which we just saw. 2 children and a woman were killed during the airstrike, and this is according to Lebanese media. So
allegedly,
again, this comes after Israel also took action and claims that it killed Hezbollah's senior commander Fouad Shukur. Sorry, I hate getting names wrong. And they claim to have killed him in this attack. Hezbollah and Lebanese authorities have yet to confirm his death. U.S. remains committed to Israel's security, and that its commitment is ironclad. This, according to the National Security Council, after the strikes in Beirut today. Quote, the attack by Lebanese Hezbollah this weekend, which killed 12 children and teenagers playing soccer, was horrific. This, according to the U.S. National Security Council. Quote, Israel has a right to defend itself against the severe threats it's facing. At the same time, the United States is continuing to work on a diplomatic solution to end these terrible attacks and to allow citizens on both sides to safely return to their homes. Kamala Harris, early Tuesday, claims that she unequivocally supports Israel's right to defend itself.
But at the same time, the other day, she was saying she doesn't. So she's a little confused.
Right.
Yeah.
And the absent commander-in-chief, Joe Biden, is yet to weigh in. Iraq is condemning the airstrike. Quote, the attack is considered a blatant violation of international law and conventions, Iraq's Ministry of Foreign Affairs said in a statement. Iraq asserts that the aggression poses a serious threat to the stability of the region and warns of its negative repercussions on regional and national peace and security. So this is Iraq condemning the Israel strike on Lebanon. IDF spokesperson said Israel wasn't looking for war, but it is prepared for it. This again with Hezbollah as it continues to fight Gaza. It is now looking to potentially open another front to the north. This is IDF. On October 8th, Hezbollah terror organization launched a war against Israel and by doing so, joined the Hamas terror organization. We're fighting with determination. These comments came after the IDF attacked these locations in Beirut. And again, they claim to have killed a senior Hezbollah commander.
Well, one thing about Israel is that if they go to war against Hezbollah, they're not going to ask for our help. They don't need our help, obviously. As you saw, they don't need our help. They just will just obliterate them from the planet, just like they're doing with Hamas.
But so what is the end game with Hamas, for example? I mean, look, from the start, the Israelis, they've stated their mission is to completely eradicate Hamas. Is that still a realistic end goal?
Unfortunately, I don't think so because Hamas is very clever. They hide in tunnels underground. They have a whole underground network, and I don't think they're ever going to get 99% of Hamas. Maybe they'll get like 90% of Hamas, but there's young children who are indoctrinated by the Hamas leaders, and they're always just going to keep making new Hamas, warriors. So I don't think Hamas will ever not be. That's just like Al Qaeda, ISIS. All these terrorist groups will never just not be. We can't just obliterate them because there's always going to be someone who's going to just keep sprouting new terrorists. That's just the truth.
And it's interesting because October 7th now. So I mean, we're entering August. That's right. That's right. So we're talking about 10 months.
Yeah.
10 months ago, coming up on the 1-year anniversary, and then of course the election following that.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be very interesting for a Democrat Party with Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket, and how much
she has to teeter the line on the pro-Israel, pro-Palestine stuff, because Biden already he burnt that bridge with the very progressive leftists, like that he's pro-Israel, right? Because Biden already said he's pro-Israel, so we don't have to worry about him. So what Kamala has to do she has to teeter the line between the pro-Palestine people and the pro-Israel people if she wants to get their votes. Trump doesn't care. He's pro-Israel. He doesn't care. We're pro-Israel. So we don't care about them. So Trump doesn't have to worry about that. So, but like I said, Kamala, she's not very smart. So she's gonna mess it up. And her advisors aren't smart. So, I'm not too worried about her.
So, well, in terms of, look, she'll argue that being the vice president of the United States for 3.5 years has exposed her to national security experience.
Oh,
but if we really if we really look at her track record, right, she really lacks that experience in the area of foreign affairs and in with the state of the world and what I would consider, an awareness from the average American is aware of kind of what's happening
the only national security she was exposed to was us when she opened the border and let everyone in, like terrorists and illegal immigrants. That's the only national security experience she has is messing this country up, not doing anything else. So I don't know what she's talking about.
And will President Trump be rewarded by the voters for what we can look back at as 4 years of relative calm and stability on the global stage? At least, under President
Under
Trump.
him, yeah, not under these people. No, of course he should be rewarded. I mean, Ukraine wasn't invaded. There was not one U.S. military member killed in Afghanistan in 18 months when he was, there's none killed. Biden had how many killed? 12, was it? 12 or 13 of them? Right? I believe
Yeah.
13, because he trusted the Taliban for security in Afghanistan to help us exit Afghanistan. What? Like, okay, sick. Let's trust a terrorist organization. Now, whatever. That's just insane. So yeah. So I mean, you just got to look at it. If you're a moderate, what Trump needs to do is he needs to win the independents. That's what's going to swing this election, because Republicans are going to vote for Trump and Democrats are going to vote for Kamala. We need to get the independents to come to our side. So the independents just need to look at the border. They need to look at the economy. They need to look at crime. Those top three things, obviously, they're out of control under Biden, and that should make you want to vote for Trump, because when he was in office, things were good. That's the bottom line.
Well, and you bring up a good point on the issues that we should be hitting when it comes to Kamala. Obviously, the border issue, no brainer. That's an easy one. She was put in charge, and
that's the number one issue.
Yeah,
number one issue.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
When it comes to crime, her record on crime is atrocious, and
she put thousands of black men in jail in California when she was the AG for weed.
That's
weed.
That's right. And so we can't let and they're going to criticize us and say, well, on one hand, you're saying she was soft on crime, and on the other hand, you're saying she locked up too many black men and she was too hard on crime. No, that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is she's had a consistent track record of being being terrible when it comes to the issue of crime and crime reduction.
She's consistent.
No. She's consistent in being awful at handling violent crime.
Right.
And in order to cover for her awful record on crime, she attempted to pad her stats by locking up young black men.
Right.
But no. But our argument is consistent throughout. We don't have to change it. They're going to criticize us and saying, well, you're saying on one hand, she locked too many people up. On the other hand, she didn't lock enough people up. That's not what we're saying.
Right.
She locked up the wrong people.
Right.
What we're saying,
for dumb stuff.
For low level pot offenses.
Right.
Meanwhile, look up this one case where she was fighting for the life of a cop killer and didn't want. So we'll get the details for you.
Also, in 2020, she advocated for people to donate to that BLM
Minnesota bail
crap for the BLM rioters. Like, come on, guys. If you're an independent voter and you're on the fence, you just look at this woman's track record. You can't vote for her. It's that simple. If you vote for her, you're crazy. And if you're a man that votes for Kamala Harris, you sit down when you pee. And that's it. That's it.
And when you say track record, you could even say lack thereof. This is somebody who has you did say it, an inconsistent record, and one that's only consistent in the repeated failures and empty promises she's made throughout her political career.
I believe when she was actually the AG or whatever, what was she in San Francisco? She was
the DA.
DA. She actually let a migrant go, and he killed someone, I think, or he killed someone, or something like that. I was reading a case. She's responsible for someone getting killed because she let a guy go due to her bail reform. So yeah, so she's not good. She's like the Alvin Bragg of New York City. That's what she is. She's literally that's literally the equivalent to her. That's what she is.
She's like the original. Somebody said it. The original Soros prosecutor. That might have been Trump, but we'll want to keep up. Obviously, we'll keep up with that story and so much more, Mike. It's been such a fast-paced evening in the news.
Right.
We're gonna do it again tomorrow.
Right.
What do you say? Same time, same place.
Same time.
We're filling in for the mayor.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll check in with him and get some.
This guy Michael L is really going hard on me here, Ted.
What do we got from Michael?
He says Michael L really helps independence when you bash JD. What else is this guy saying?
So Mike's reading the comments. I'll get your comments in
This guy,
below.
Michael L.
Michael L. Mike.
And independence will swing towards Trump when you shit talk Trump's VP pick. Who is this guy, Michael L?
Mike's reading the comment
Wow.
section live on the air. This is gonna get
And
good.
he said, "Thank you, Ted and Mike." All right, he's cool. He's cool. Michael L. Jeez, relax, man. I was just saying I don't know the guy. I just told you I support President Trump. I met the man many times. He's the best. Jeez.
Maybe we'll have Michael call in. What do you say? We'll do some call-ins
Yeah,
tomorrow.
We'll do some calls. Jeez.
We'll get some of you on the show. The Bluebird Grandma Ted, how is Rudy feeling? The mayor's feeling great.
Yeah.
He's traveling, and you'll hear from him again tomorrow. But no worries with the mayor. He's not sick or any of that sort of stuff. He's just
that's
traveling.
another. Tomorrow we will also talk about how big tech omitted Trump's assassination and President Trump's name. That's a good one. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. That's a big story. I forgot to bring that up. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. Absolutely.
We'll talk about tomorrow.
Yes,
Good point.
yes,
So keep the
yes.
comments coming. Thank you, everyone, for staying with us all night. We'll be back tomorrow with another jam-packed hour and some change, right, with our soccer time.
Absolutely.
And Mike and I will be right back at it. We'll learn from our first night together here tonight, going into tomorrow, and we're excited to come back for some more action, and we'll have a message from the mayor, and we hope you'll all join us. Just as so many of you have joined us every night, 462 straight episodes.
We should do something big for episode 500.
You know what? I
We
agree.
should do it in front of a live audience.
And that's going to be so that's 38 shows from now.
Do it here in New York somewhere.
That's
Have a
1.5 weeks from now.
Yeah.
So it'll be about October.
Yeah. I have an idea.
Or no, September.
We'll talk
Yeah,
about it. I have an idea.
Well, wow, we'll have to do something for the big 500th episode. Hard to believe. So we're on episode 462. That means we are 92. We're in our 93rd week, 93rd straight week.
We'll have a big party for episode 500. We got to talk to the mayor first.
We will, yeah. Keep it a secret. We don't want him to know.
That's it. So,
well, thank you, Mike. We'll do it again tomorrow. Same time, same place.
Here, sir.
Thanks. Thank you all for joining us. And as the mayor says, God bless the people of Israel. God bless all of you. And of course, God bless
America.
America.
Bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze,